You want to couple the calcaneus, bring a hand over the top of the joint, and what we're going for is 60 degrees of range. So if it's helpful, if you thought of an ankle at this range right here, that would be for the ankle 0 degree range. That's 0 degree. So what we want to get is a 60 degree range, which if you go right between 0 and 90 is 45. So what we're going for is a little bit more than 45. We're not using goniometers. We don't need exact numbers. It's more of a feel, and we'll know when we're within a range. Goniometers are very simple to use. If you ever want to buy one, it's just a wheel with 2 arms. And so if I know where the vector of force is moving from, which in this case is the tibio-talar joint, okay, I line up my immobile arm with that, and whatever range I get, I slide the mobile arm, and then I have a degree of range. But to use them legitimately, you have to run the range 5 or 6 times, write it down, and create an average. It's a whole lot of work, right?
Yeah, if you guys are billing insurance, it would be useful for that. Other than that,
not so much, right? So if this is 0 degrees, what we're going for, okay, as I drop down, so that's about 45 degrees. I want to be able to get about 15 degrees more. So, and I can do that very softly with Josh. There's no work. I mean, I don't have to pull hard. I don't have to hyper engage. I don't have to use my muscles. So he gets 60 degrees pretty well, right? And this is pretty typical. You will get people with a lot of hyperactivity in the anterior compartment, particularly runners who don't do enough stretching, or maybe they have bad biomechanics. So you definitely get people, and it's amazing how many runners don't stretch their tib anterior. They stretch their calves, they do all sorts of stuff, but they will not stretch their anterior compartment. So you will get situations like that. But just to be sure, we don't want to do this because I can get him to 0 degrees, but I'm not getting his tibio-talar joint to 0 degrees. I'm getting the top of his foot, the dorsal portion of his foot, flat through his metatarsals. So isolate the joint, take it through, and that's an easy 60. He actually goes beyond 60, and it's not a problem. You'll be fine there. Okay? So coming back to 0, it's the same idea here. You want to take a hand and you want to traction the joint just a little bit, and you want to take it through range. I'm actually going to switch hands. I know it's harder to see, but it's easier for me. Okay? So if we go from 0 degrees and we go up, we have a little bit of restriction here. Right? So we want 20 degrees, which if this is 0, 20 degrees isn't much. We're looking at about that much range in 20 degrees. So if we give slight traction, bring it to 0, we can get to 20, but it's a little bit of work. So there might be some tension through the back of the calf, maybe deep calf muscles, tib posterior, maybe something that's restricting that range or making it a little bit difficult. But again, with what we do, or more specifically, sometimes what we don't do, it's not a big surprise.
so to give you guys an idea of like how useful this assessment is, this is one thing that I always struggle in. Like when I do yoga and I do something like a forward fold, when I do something like a squat, where I always feel tightness is my calves. I don't feel it in my back, I don't feel it in my glutes, I don't feel it in my hamstrings, it's always my calf muscles. I have very limited dorsiflexion. I don't have to tell you that, like you already know just by him testing. That's like you put in the piggy bank, you're like, oh, do you ever, if you have an athletic person like myself, like, hey, do you ever notice that you're kind of limited when you squat? And you can just make general assumptions like, hey, when you do this, are your calves tight a lot? Yeah, my calves are tight a lot. Then you look really smart because you are.
And I actually didn't know that about Josh. I figured Josh moved in every direction just fine. He's the most yummy person I know.
It's one of the things I have to constantly like try and fight for and maintain, but I'm limited in my dorsiflexion for sure.
So, as it concerns eversion and inversion, it's a little bit unfortunate. So when you look at eversion, you get to about 20 degrees and you stop. Unfortunately, it's often not because of muscles, it's because of the length of the fibula. And so you're having a lot of bone-to-bone stoppage, and that's just going to be how it is. So, we all know that inverters get tight. Tib anterior, tib posterior, we see people with high arches, we know that happens. So this is one where I would actually grab the foot, and I'm going to go a little bit farther and just kind of get a sense of what kind of length I can get, right? Doesn't matter what change you use. So I want to bring the subtalar joint to its end range, right? 20 degrees. And then I'm just going to grab the foot and twist and see what kind of opening I get. Because when we look at the muscles like tib anterior and tib posterior, they are really influencing the tarsals and metatarsals. So it's totally fine to gear those and just get a sense of what kind of space they get, right? So I can get pretty solid movement. It's nice and leathery. There's not, a hard stop there. It has nice buoyancy there. But as far as a degree range, it's really tough with that because the joint is stopped by bone. And that's just going to happen with everybody you assess. The fibula is just too long. Okay. As far as inversion is concerned, what you want from 0 degrees, we're looking at about 40 degrees of range. So again, not a big range, but you're thinking about a swivel joint, right? So now we're subtalar, we're into a joint that operates off of glide rather than hinge. So we want to think about that glide as we go through this range. And the first thing just to feel is it a smooth glide? From 0 to 40, do we get a nice smooth glide? There's a little pop there, but it's good. You know, a little pop, you can feel that something's going out here, maybe loose retinaculum, something's popping out there, but it's otherwise a very smooth glide. And outside of that pop, you know, we get 40 degrees pretty easy.
Yeah, the pop is accurate.